What's up guys, my name is Ace, and one of the biggest issues I've been having with the Vanguard Beta so far is audio. And there's a reason that I haven't been constantly harping on the audio on this and making videos talking about this, and this is due to the fact that Sledgehammer has acknowledged that there are audio bugs in the beta that they are unable to get on top of during the beta. I believe they're going to need a title update for this and possibly some more time to work on it, and therefore the audio that we're currently experiencing in the beta, as terrible and frustrating as it can be, this isn't the audio that we're going to be seeing in the full build of the game. Obviously, I will be judging that audio in its final state once the game launches, and if audio was a major issue for you in the beta, like a game-breaking issue, I'd recommend holding off and waiting for the reviews once the game actually launches. So I'm in no way implying that I absolutely think they're going to 100% fix audio by launch. All I'm saying is I'm going to wait and judge it for myself once the game does launch. Having said this, today's video is one that I really want to make before launch, because I really hope that Sledgehammer doesn't end up making the huge mistake that Modern Warfare made, at least in my opinion. And this is having loud footstep audio with no permanent dead silence perk. This is the type of thing that could easily be a complete deal breaker for me when it comes to Vanguard. And in the video today, I am going to be looking back to a couple older Call of Duty games and comparing them to share my feedback on where I feel is the perfect middle ground for having footstep audio. But for the first section here, I did want to share exactly why I feel this is such an important stat to be balancing properly, and why it was such a huge issue for me in Modern Warfare 2019. I'll be sure to leave some timestamps in this video so you can feel free to skip ahead. A lot of you guys have already heard my thoughts and opinions on this, but I do need to make it clear in this video. The big issue that I had with Modern Warfare was the fact that the footstep audio was extremely loud, and you could also hear it from a very good distance away, even through walls. And on top of this, Modern Warfare was the only Call of Duty game, with the exception of Advanced Warfare, which is a totally different style with advanced movement. It's the only boots-on-the-ground Call of Duty game to not have a perk that dampens your footstep audio, like Dead Silence or Ninja. Instead, we had it as a limited-time field upgrade that you had to charge up. And what this does to the gameplay is it punishes people that are actively moving around the map, because they are the ones generating the footstep audio, and it rewards people and encourages people to stay stationary, because then they're not generating footstep audio, and they can listen and try to hear the people that are moving. And this style of play doesn't fit with Call of Duty, and it significantly limited playstyle variety in Modern Warfare. I'm somebody that likes to move. I like to be aggressive, yet when I played Modern Warfare, outside of the really small maps like Shipment and Shoot House, where there was so much chaos that footstep audio didn't really matter that much, outside of those maps, I felt like I was actively being held back and punished, and I could only use my intended playstyle once my Dead Silence field upgrade got charged up. So I basically got a few times throughout a match where I was able to play the way that I wanted to play, without feeling heavily punished for doing so. And I don't think that's a good thing at all. I think if people want to be moving around and being aggressive, they shouldn't feel so punished for doing so. You're already at a disadvantage if you are rushing around, because you have to deal with your sprint out times, and those that are pre-aimed against you are going to have a huge advantage if you screw up and end up rushing the wrong lane and ending up in their line of sight. So I don't think we also need another punishment on top of that by having extremely loud footstep audio. Another thing that loud footstep audio does is it significantly harms the skill gap and the skill ceiling in the game. Because using your ears as your primary source of awareness is not a skill. There's no analysis or interpretation required on the fly. You simply hear where somebody is, and now you know that they are there. You didn't need to develop any higher level forms of awareness, like how to properly read a minimap. I'm not talking about red dot chasing, but properly reading a minimap, understanding how lane control works, looking for gaps in your team's setup to see if there's a potential for a flank that an enemy got in, knowing your routes, your timings, your spawns. All of these elements really separate higher level Call of Duty players from the average Call of Duty player out there. And when you have really loud footstep audio, you don't really need those higher level skills, because you'll just hear everybody coming and know exactly where they are well before you even see them. And especially at the higher levels of play, this just destroys the depth of the experience. Instead of being rewarded for having those higher level awareness skills and that big picture thinking, being able to read the big picture on the map in real time while also handling gunfights, that is greatly diminished with loud footstep audio. Now, there's probably some people out there that are thinking, well, other games do it. Other games have loud footstep audio, but usually that applies to tactical single life shooters that have a completely different gameplay style and gameplay flow compared to Call of Duty. I'm thinking games like CSGO or Rainbow Six Siege. Footstep audio is very important in those style of games, but not in Call of Duty. But finally, one last thing I wanted to mention for those people that just say adapt. It's not that I can't adapt to this, it's quite easy to adapt to that boring playstyle of crouch walking around and waiting for some other idiot to make the fatal flaw of sprinting in a Call of Duty game. It's not that it's difficult to adapt to, if anything, it's a much more basic style of gameplay, and that's the problem that I have. It destroys the depth of the experience, and the core gameplay suffers because playstyle variety is also lost. So that's my stance on loud footstep audio, but keep in mind, I'm talking about loud footstep audio, not footstep audio in general, and this is where I want to get to my feedback on Vanguard. So as we now know, it looks like Vanguard is going to be following suit with Modern Warfare in the sense that there will be no dead silence perk, and instead it's going to be a limited time use field upgrade that you have to charge up. Personally, I disagree with this route. I think there should be the option to have a dead silence perk, but put it in a tier where there is a decent trade-off to using it. So if you are using Dead Silence, you're passing up the ability to use a potentially great perk that will help you in other areas. But since they're not going that direction, the big thing that I'm hoping for here is when they end up fixing their bugs with their audio, I hope the base footstep audio is kept in check fairly significantly. And this got me thinking back to older Call of Duty games, and the big one that stood out to me was actually Sledgehammer's most recent Call of Duty game, COD World War II. In that game, we had the ability to use Dead Silence in two different ways. There was, I believe, a perk called Incognito, which significantly dampened your footstep audio, or you could use the Mountain Division, which would also dampen your footstep audio. Having said that, though, when I think back, in respawn modes at least, I never really feel like I needed to use those things to dampen footstep audio. I could have, and it would have been a nice bonus, and it would have helped me in some situations, but I never felt the need to have that on there. I felt like I could rush fairly aggressively and fairly effectively without being punished because the footstep audio in that game was actually balanced quite well, in my opinion. I actually went back and I managed to find some of the footstep testing that I did back in World War II's life cycle, and I wanted to compare this directly with Modern Warfare's footstep audio. So I'm just going to play the clips back to back here. This is unedited audio recorded at the same level, even though you're going to hear that the Modern Warfare footstep audio is much louder. But pay attention to the moment you can first start hearing that footstep audio from the enemy player, and then also try to pay attention to the volume. How loud are those footsteps, and how clearly would you be able to pick up on those, especially in the heat of the action? So as you could probably tell, you could hear the footsteps at a greater distance in Modern Warfare, not by a massive margin, but you could definitely hear them from farther away. And on top of this, the volume is massively boosted, especially as that enemy started to get fairly close. The footstep audio was so loud that you'd be able to hear that with ease, even if there's gunfire going off around you. But going back to the COD World War II example, this is the exact point where the footsteps started to become quite audible. Technically, you could hear a faint footstep sound before this, but this is where it was much more obvious that, yes, that is a footstep sound that you're hearing. And I think that's quite a reasonable range, especially when you factor in movement speed. In fact, if we time from the moment that we can clearly hear that footstep to the point where that character has closed the distance and is now right in front of me, it's only about 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds, roughly. So at most, if you hear an enemy player sprinting toward you, in COD World War II, you had about 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds to react to that. And 1.5 seconds is quite a long time in Call of Duty terms, but there's also not much room for slack there. You have to react quickly if you want to capitalize on that footstep audio. Let's compare that to the Modern Warfare example, to where you could really clearly hear the footstep audio. Again, technically you could hear it farther away than this, but this is where it started to become quite clear, and then it got extremely loud as they got even closer. And in this, the character model didn't run straight at me, so I had to compensate and guess very slightly here on when they would actually run into me face to face, like in the COD World War II example. But as we can see here, we've got about twice the amount of time to react to hearing that footstep audio. This gives players plenty of time to react to that, pre-aim an angle, and then pre-fire as you come around that. There's no fast reaction required or anything. You've got plenty of time to get yourself set up for that situation. And again, that's not even mentioning the significantly louder footstep audio in Modern Warfare compared to COD World War II. If you're factoring in some gunfire and stuff going around, it's much more difficult to pick up on those sounds in COD World War II, but if you were keeping a close ear out, you could still hear it in COD World War II, whereas in Modern Warfare, it's so loud and prominent, you're gonna hear it no matter what. So this is why I feel COD World War II is a pretty good model for base footstep audio in a Call of Duty game, and I really hope they lean much more in that direction than the Modern Warfare direction when it comes to their final audio tuning. Another thing to mention is I also hope they take great care into occlusion, which means hearing footsteps through walls or around corners. I hope they balance that well so you can't hear them loud and clear as if there were no wall between you and the enemy player. So yeah, personally, I think I would be totally on board with COD World War II style footstep audio, perhaps maybe even slightly quieter than that, just to compensate for the fact that in this game, we won't have a perk to dampen our footstep audio, whereas in COD World War II, we still had that option available. But if they were to do that, I think I'd be very happy with the footstep audio balance. And like I said, I just hope they steer far clear of Modern Warfare 2019 footstep audio. I think that was terrible. And while I had plenty of complaints and issues with Modern Warfare, if I could only make one single change to the gameplay, I would have significantly reduced the base footstep audio and or added a perk to dampen footstep audio that you could permanently use. So there we have it. That's my feedback when it comes to audio balance. Obviously, we don't know exactly what direction they're going to take at this point, but I wanted to get this video out there to at least share my thoughts on this. And I'd like to hear in the comment section below, what would you like to see done to footstep audio in the final build of Vanguard once they work out all these audio bugs? Are you like me? Do you prefer it when footsteps are more on the quiet side while still being audible? Or do you think they should be 100% silent all the time? Or do you actually think that Modern Warfare nailed it and we should have super loud footstep audio that you can hear even over gunfire? Just let me know those thoughts down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.